Captain! Hey folks, before we get started, don't forget to follow S News so you can catch this and all our future videos. If you want to support us, just hit that subscribe button, give us a like and drop a comment below. We really appreciate it.
Was Netanyahu scared when Iran, China, and France gave Israel a warning? Let's ask this question openly. Was Netanyahu afraid when Iran, China, and France sent a clear warning to Israel?
And the skies over Paris were still blue when the French Parliament made a decision that shook capitals around the world, officially recognizing the state of Palestine. In that historic chamber, the applause wasn't just about party politics. It was a signal that the global order is shifting. For decades, the West had moved in a single direction. Now, suddenly, it had changed course. This shift carried a clear message. The old world order is collapsing, and new powers are stepping in to take its place. The news spread faster than bullets in tune. Strategic zones lit up.
For Iran, France's recognition of Palestine wasn't just a gesture of support. It was seen as a green light to return to the game. Amid the rubble of geopolitics, a new opening appeared, and all eyes turned toward it. Iran started pivoting east toward China. A quiet alliance began to form, a new sense of solidarity, and perhaps the early signs of a broader confrontation brewing in the shadows. Large cargo planes began landing silently, with no lights and communication systems switched off. No alerts, no signals. But their cargo was very real. Military logistics, electronic systems, missiles. A rising force that couldn't be ignored. Iran was no longer hiding behind its defensive shield. It was building something. Not just for protection, but for retaliation.
According to Reuters, the wake-up call came during the 12-day war, when Israeli missiles struck sensitive Iranian sites. Iran's once proud defense system was suddenly paralyzed, not by a direct hit, but by something more subtle, colder sabotage. Nearly invisible, it pointed clearly to one culprit, Mossad.
Iran didn't stay silent. It realized its old defenses weren't enough anymore. When Russia, Iran's longtime ally, failed to deliver the Su-35 fighter jets and the S-400 systems, Iran changed course. But not in the direction most expected. It turned to Beijing.
In the weeks after the ceasefire, multiple Chinese Boeing 747 cargo planes were seen landing in Iran with their transponders turned off. There was no official statement, no diplomatic announcement, but satellite images and radar data confirmed it.
These weren't just ordinary shipments, not regular military electronics, not missiles, not even heavy drones. This wasn't humanitarian aid either. It was a trade deal, a container of Iranian oil in exchange for defensive gear.
According to Al Jazeera, the 12-day war left deep wounds. Over 1,000 civilians were killed across Iran and in proxy conflict zones like Yemen and Syria. Hospitals were bombed, command centers attacked, and civilian communication networks disrupted. But the most devastating loss was trust.
Iranians began asking, where were our defenses when the missiles were falling? Why were enemy planes flying through our airspace without resistance? More and more people started to realize that courage alone wasn't enough. They needed a defense system that actually worked.
In response to the chaos, Iran rushed to acquire chemicals like ammonium perchlorate and sodium perchlorate, key ingredients in missile fuel. Thousands of tons have already arrived at Iranian ports. Reports say some of it is being funneled to affiliated networks like cybercrime groups in Yemen. This clearly shows that these new missiles aren't being built for today, they're being stockpiled for a day when everything must be answered.
According to the Associated Press, the United States has expressed concern about the growing military cooperation between Iran and China. While no new sanctions have been officially announced, diplomatic pressure on Beijing has definitely begun.
Meanwhile, Russia remains silent, seemingly unwilling to admit it failed to meet its promises to Iran. The United Nations Security Council is in turmoil, and now several member nations, including Brazil and South Africa, are starting to support a new, more neutral narrative.
China and Iran are drawing closer. Meanwhile, Western countries are calling for tighter controls on any military dealings with Iran.
As for China, it has remained mostly silent. A spokesperson for its foreign ministry simply said, We are open to sharing technology with friendly nations. But honestly, everyone knows that behind that simple sentence, a new geopolitical map is being drawn.
According to the South China Morning Post, Iran is currently building a multi-layered air defense system. It now appears to have acquired the Asht-9B, China's version of the S-400, capable of targeting fighter jets and cruise missiles hundreds of kilometers away.
This system complements both Russia's and Iran's own domestic systems.
More importantly, Iran is working on rebuilding its air force. The Chinese JDC fighter jet seems like a logical choice. While it's less advanced than the American F-35, it can still compete with Israeli jets in certain scenarios.
It would be armed with the PL-15, a long-range radar-guided missile.
Iran is also reportedly looking to purchase Chinese drones, particularly the KJ-2000 and KJ-500, known for their ability to detect hundreds of targets at once and coordinate aerial combat. These systems could, turn Iran's skies into a fully integrated battlefield.
But this ambitious project isn't without its challenges. Iran would need to completely overhaul its logistics and training systems, just as Pakistan did when it transitioned to Chinese military technology. This will take time, and more importantly, internal political stability.
According to The Guardian, France's recognition of Palestine wasn't an isolated move. In the weeks that followed, several European nations reopened internal debates about their stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and broader Middle East tensions.
For Iran, this shift is more than symbolic. It's a warning sign. The dominance of one narrative is breaking down, and the global balance of power may be starting to shift.
At the same time, Al Arabiya reports that several Arab nations are facing a dilemma. On one hand, they reject normalization with Israel, accusing it of ignoring the suffering of Palestinians. On the other, they're uneasy about Iran's growing influence. Behind the scenes, however, countries like Syria, Algeria, and Qatar appear to be aligning more closely with Beijing, forming a new bloc that resists total alignment with the West.
According to Middle East Monitor, the world is currently witnessing two things: the crumbling of the old world order and the slow emergence of a potentially more peaceful alternative. Iran, for its part, is trying to break free from decades of pressure, but at the same time it's moving in a direction that could trigger a larger confrontation. The question is no longer who will start the war, but who will have the courage to stop it. Yes, we can build missiles, launch drones, and deploy defense systems, but we can't replace human lives with oil, and no air defense system can heal those wounds. The skies now lit up with radars and rockets must one day return to being blue, for the children growing up beneath them. Because behind all the strategies, treaties, and advanced weaponry, this world still belongs to human beings, and war, no matter how carefully planned, always leaves behind destruction far worse than numbers can describe. As the skies of the Middle East fill with bullets and propaganda, let's hope there's still room for the hardest voice to hear in all this noise, the voice calling for peace. Settings: use a male voice with a New Yorker accent for speaker 4. Don't